What's up, movie lovers? It's your girl Rossie, and I'm back with another episode of The Sandman. We're going to review episode 3, and this episode's called Dream a Little Dream of Me. So let's get started, you guys. Oh, and by the way, I do have John DeGregorio joining me for this episode. What's up, John?
Nothing much. How you doing, Rossie? It's good to be here with you.
I'm doing good. Nice seeing you. It's been a little minute since we've sat together.
Yes, it has. And it's a pleasure to do this review with you as always.
Thank you so much. So, guys, we're going to talk about episode 3 of, like I said, The Sandman. This episode is called Dream a Little Dream. John's going to join me for all of the episodes except for episode 4. Zoe from Backlook Cinema.
Yep, Backlook Cinema podcast. The reviews from yesteryear.
Absolutely. Zoe's going to join me on the 14th, and we're going to discuss episode 4. All right. Anyways, in this episode, we get to meet Constantine. And so, first of all, what did you think about the beginning of the episode? Just an overview.
I definitely enjoyed this episode a lot. It had this Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe to it, especially with the flashing lights underneath the door, so you don't know what you're expecting. You also know this is her nightmarish kind of dream. Also, too, this is also involving his sand. This is trying to get his sand back, his items back that he lost from episode 1. So this is really intriguing. I'm happy that they went on ahead and started collecting his stuff in episode 3, and then it carries into episode 4. So I thought that was really nice.
Right. So, so this episode, we're after the sand, as John said, and we find out that the sand was sold to Constantine. And Constantine, her name is Diana Constantine. She's a feisty, demon hunter, exorcist. And so, exorcist. So in the beginning of this episode, or a little bit, we'll just, talk around the episodes just a little bit, not all in the beginning, but Diana is has to do an exorcism on the princess who's marrying this was it a basketball or football star?
Okay, so in British terms, what football is soccer. So
yes,
she's marrying this football star, this athlete who is very good looking, and they just want to get married in a hurry kind of situation. And of course, Diane is there, and she's get this. Remember Keanu Reeves' movie Constantine, right?
Yes.
They switched. What they did was, and this is what Zoe had told me, they actually switched. They actually switched the sex around to where basically you have a female Constantine rather than a male Constantine, which I thought was really cool. But yeah,
I thought that was really cool too, because I remember seeing the movie and it was like, oh, it's a female, which is not a big deal. She does a great job as Constantine. I kind of liked her. I hope to see her again throughout this series. But anyway, so the problem that we're having is that we get a peek into Diana's life, Diana Constantine. And there's this one there's this one situation where a young girl who she's caring for, her father decided to play with a spell book and summon some demon. So you see Constantine, Diana showing up and kind of don't know what's going on. The little girl comes out of the back of the room and is telling her, oh, we have a big problem. And she goes and takes Diana into a room, Constantine, and the girl's father's laying on the ground in this circle, like this pentagon. So he was doing things that he shouldn't have done, as we've seen so far in this series. They're messing around in the black arts and they know nothing about it. And humans messing around in something like that is just not good. We're not supposed to have that much power or wield that much power. So it's a big deal. Unfortunately, Constantine is being haunted by this situation, because when she is trying to get rid of the demon, there's a point where the little girl who she's caring for gets pulled in as she's closing up the gate. Closing up the gate to hell to get rid of this demon that the little girl's father happened to summon playing around. And unfortunately, the demon takes the little girl, and Diana's only left with the girl's hand,
Arm.
like just
Yeah.
arm burned completely off. I mean, disintegrated this little girl. So we find out that this is her nightmare. This is something that it's actually a memory. It's not quite a nightmare, but she can't sleep. She's going through this over and over again. So, present day London, the UK. What did you think about the bag lady? That was tell them about the bag lady.
Okay, the bag lady is basically there to warn her, hey, look, the Sandman is out again, and he's coming to collect. And basically, Rachel is so blindsided by it to the point where I think that she thinks that basically it's just a legend of the Sandman. The Sandman's not real or anything. And
Right.
this woman is basically a messenger in a sense for the Sandman to tell her, hey, look, he's coming to collect. He wants his items that he had.
Right.
And there's no getting around it. And yeah, Rachel just kind of just shrugs it off like it's no big deal up until the point where the whole exorcism happens, and that's when she meets up with Bag Lady. But aside from that, you wind up seeing after that, it's not long, then you see the Sandman come.
Right.
And then that's when it becomes surreal.
Right. And her name's Diana Constantine. That's her name. And the lady that is telling Diane that Constantine, we'll just call her Constantine, is telling Constantine that, you know, Morpheus, who Dream is also known he's also known as Morpheus. And she's like telling the lady, like, you know, they're making, like John said, she's laughing at her because that's an old wives' tale, the Sandman. And so it's true. So Constantine, you know, heads her way. And by the way, the woman that she runs into mentions that, you know, she's been doing this for over 220 some odd years. She's been living. So this is another never ender, I guess, you know, just not a mortal being, basically. Anyway, so Diana Constantine is headed to a church because, like we said, she's there to do an exorcist on who we think the princess is. We think the princess is possessed.
Demon.
Okay, so she shows up to the church because she's been hired by the priest there to come and take care of this problem. So the princess and the football star or soccer star, they're getting married. And this is unlike, you know, any other marriage because, you know, she's not getting married in a palace and whatever. They're basically eloping. And, you know, the princess is really in love with the soccer player. I forget his name, but really in love with him. And so she wants to get married. But we know that there is a demon inside one of them. So Constantine switches outfits with the priest and pretends like she's the priest that's going to marry them. Instead, she's actually doing a spell to get the demon out of whoever the demon's in. And John, you could talk about that because that was an awesome scene.
Right, because so awesome. This was the most goriest episode that you can think of, though.
Absolutely.
Too. But so basically, Constantine says, "Repeat after me," and you're thinking it's the wedding vows that they're going to be reciting,
right?
But no, it's actually making them recite the exorcism to get the demon out of whoever the demon is. And so it happens to be the athlete. And that was actually a little bit of a plot twist because I was expecting the princess because of the fact the demon is doing such a good job at pretending that he's not a demon because he says, "Are you sure you don't want to get married with a photographer, with your family? Why do you want to go ahead and just elope?" So he's playing this to a T. And that's what I like about it was this. Normally demons are just one-dimensional. This one had layers to him where he's actually fooling the audience and fooling the princess as if we're being fooled by him too.
Right.
And it just sucks you in. And then whenever he's revealed, it's the most glorious thing because he actually shreds the football player's skin out of the body. And he's revealed as the demon. And oh my God.
It's so awesome how the graphics are done because like John says, as Constantine is giving the marriage vows and having them repeat after her, she's actually giving them the spells. So you notice that as they're repeating what she's saying, his stomach kind of gurgles a little bit and he stops and he's like, "Oh, you know, it must be something that I ate." And then he does it again. But we don't know that, you know, we don't know it's him. We're thinking it might be the princess that's, you know, possessed. And then all of a sudden you see this hand come out of the guy's, the fiance's mouth, and he's basically climbing out of his body, and it is the coolest scene ever. His body just explodes. I mean, he just tears the kid's body apart. Poor princess is just sitting there looking like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Coolest scene ever. But we do have a problem because this demon knows where everything that Dream's looking for, he knows where it is. So as he being exorcised, basically, Dream comes in and Constantine is asking him what's his name, and his name is actually Agalaeth. That's the demon's name. Dream says that's his name. And so she's trying to send him back to hell, and he's trying to make a deal with Dream, basically telling, you know, Dream, don't send me back to hell, and I'll tell you where everything is. Unfortunately, Constantine got to him first, and Dream is like, no, Constantine, don't. And he's gone. He's gone. So she ruined everything. And she still, I don't get that she still realizes that he's Morpheus. Like, that's Dream. That's, you know.
Right. I think she's just thinking, oh, he's just some random person that's looking to collect certain items or whatever, and just collects antiques or something.
Right.
But the way that he does it, he's like, what were you thinking? I needed those things. And she's like, yeah, no big deal. I ended up doing the guys.
Right. She doesn't get it. But she does know where the sand is, because we find out that she actually left the sand with her ex-girlfriend that she had left 6 months ago. And Dream is asking her, like, why would you leave the sand? Why would you do that? And she's like, well, I didn't just leave the sand. I left my girlfriend. Like, you know, we're supposed to, you know, we moved in together, weren't supposed to be there that long, and I just left it with her. So it's been 6 months since we've seen Constantine's girlfriend. On the other hand, I also want to talk about what's going on with her name is Ethel Cripps and her son John. So at the same time this is going on, we have another storyline. And remember, Ethel Cripps is the one where Corinthian went to visit last episode 2. And remember, she has that amulet of protection, that green amulet with the eye. She has that around her. She does not have the ruby, though. I thought she had the ruby. And then when I watched it again, I realized, no, she doesn't have the ruby. Her son, who was locked up because he killed or hurt a lot of people with that ruby, he has the ruby. He knows where it is. So she's in the mental hospital or jail where her son's been kept this whole time. And she goes to visit him because after Corinthian showed up and told her, you know, Dream is looking for his possessions, and he's after anyone who took it, stole it, whatever. So, you know, she went to go visit her son because she's actually running. She's running from him. What did you think about that when you saw her with the son?
My first initial thought was this. I'm like, well, how is this going to play into it? How is this going to wind up going into this later on? But then you wind up finding out, oh, she was the mistress of the other person.
Yeah, Roderick Burgess. Yes.
Right. And so it gets into the whole entire dialogue where basically she's been lying to her son the whole time.
Right.
And she goes, well, you know, and he said, well, I was actually basically my father was the reason why we had these things. And she goes, you know, your father wanted me to abort you. She goes, you know what? That was like the first honest thing that you ever said to me.
Right.
And everything in my whole entire adulthood. But whenever here's the thing, I also thought he had the ruby as well. But then whenever I seen that she only had the necklace, I'm like, okay, so that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I thought she had the amulet. And that's what was odd to me is when Corinthian went to go visit her, who is also Corinzio, guys. Okay. When he went to visit her in episode 2, I was wondering where's the ruby? Because we know she took it all. We know she took everything, but she didn't have the ruby. She actually gave it to her son, John, who, like John said, just found out that his father is Roderick Burgess. And remember, Roderick Burgess was the one that accidentally summoned a Dream, but was meaning to summon a devil, another demon. So he
He
got
was
Dream.
right. It was supposed to be Death that he was summoning.
Death,
Instead,
that's
he wound
right.
up getting Dream.
That's right. He wanted to summon Death, accidentally got Dream. And remember, he had Dream locked up in his basement for a century. And there's one conversation that Constantine has with Dream later on, because she'd heard about Roderick Burgess. Everyone's known about him because, he was an evil, magician guy, and so she'd heard, and everyone, the rumor is that Roderick had a demon locked up in his basement for years. And so, she mentions that to Constantine and then realizes that, oh, it was you that was locked up. And we'll go back to John, but I just want to really mention the way he looked when she mentioned that. It's like he had a shame on his face because he allowed himself, I guess, to get caught, and shameful that he spent a century in that basement of in that hourglass cage. So that's the up-to-date situation with that. Anyways, John was the little baby that that Ethel had, and that Roderick Burgess wanted to abort. Okay, so that's them present day. She's going to visit him to let him know, you're in danger, I'm in danger, we got to basically get out of here. And she decides not to do that. When she gave him the amulet of protection, what do you think about that scene when they're talking to each other? I mean, by the way, she's 126 years old.
Right. And she still looks young and looks like that she hasn't even aged at all.
Right.
But I like how it goes into her true form once she winds up giving him the amulet. And it was one of those things that I felt like that was so natural, to the point where I'm like, okay, I love where they're going with it, because I haven't seen a show do this before, where you wind up seeing her old and decaying and showing how she would be as if she was dead, because she's really supposed to be dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's living in a modern time. And then you see the guard go over there, because remember, John has his face pretty much close to her, laying down in the bed, and the guard thinks that he's killing her, but she's already dead, and he's not understanding what's going on. So when the guard comes in and goes, hey, let go of her, you're hurting her, next thing you know it, John uses the ruby to get out of jail, and oh my god, the guard just winds up bursting into blood, and it was gory. It reminded me of True Blood. That's how gory it was.
Okay.
That part.
I never got to see True Blood. I have to watch that. I started it. I never finished it. But yeah, it was really gory, and I love how they, like they're torn from the inside out, and it's just a mess. So he's gone. He's out. Okay. So we'll get back to getting our sand. So Constantine ends up noticing that there has been a raven that is around Dream. And remember, Dream's last raven, who was it was just a second, I have the name, Yasamine. Remember, Yasamine was Dream's raven that got shot by Roderick Burgess' son Alex at the time, trying to impress his dad. So Dream didn't want any more ravens following him, helping him. Well, we love our girl. What's her name? Lucian. Lucian, who is very protective over Dream, decided, I'm sending a raven with you. And so we meet Matthew the Raven, who is voiced by the guy from Spence Olchin from King of Queens. I can't call his real name right now, but anyways, he's really funny. You hear his voice, you all know him. He's Matthew the Raven. And as Dream is basically telling Matthew off and letting him know, I don't want you here, he's telling you, like, she got away, sir. She got away. And Dream was able to find her because she was dreaming, Constantine.
Right.
And go ahead and talk about him finding her.
So basically, Matthew winds up bringing him down. Look, she's probably in bed right now. We have about 6 hours, and we're good to go. Because you need to find. And by the way, you think that you don't need me? You need me. So basically, Matthew winds up helping him find her.
Right.
And then through her dream, because once again, she has that same dream of the little girl.
Yes.
And through her dream, that's when the Sandman comes in. That's when Morpheus comes in and tells her, "Hey, look, you need to help me find my sand."
Right.
So she wakes up. She winds up seeing Morpheus. Morpheus winds up telling her, "Where is the sand?" She says, "Well, it's what my girlfriend Rachel. Rachel has it."
Right.
So that's when they go on this walk to where they're going over to her girlfriend's house, Rachel, and she goes, "Well, stay right here, and I'll go get your sand." Then that's when, of course, Matthew says to him, he goes, "Look, she's just in it for herself.
Right.
You know, you cannot trust humans. I used to be a human. You cannot trust humans." And so he flies up to the window just to see what's going on in there. And I'll let you go on ahead and pick up from that part.
Yes. So, and we find out that Matthew, you know, he lets Dream know, listen, I died this week. You know, I woke up. I'm a bird. I used to have thumbs. You know, I have wings now. So, you know, I don't know what's going on either. You know, but you know, so we're going to Constantine's girlfriend's house because that's where the sand is. And remember, she hasn't been there for 6 months. And Constantine, she's like, you know, I really hope she's moved because, you know, who wants to show up 6 months later and say, I want my sand back? But I haven't spoke to you at all. Anyways, you know, Dream is determined to go with her inside. And she tells Dream, no, I want to go in by myself. She goes in by herself and she finds Rachel, her girlfriend, and they hug and they you know, they're talking, but it's not quite as we think it is. Come to find out, she was dreaming. Constantine was dreaming that all up. And we find the girlfriend emaciated in bed. I mean, holding on to the sand and dying, basically. The sand has kept her alive, but she's been in this bed, hasn't eaten, hasn't done anything. She's damn near dead. It was the creepiest scene ever and sad. And so, you know, we see the sand. Dream goes and gets the sand. And as he takes the sand out of her hand, you know, Constantine's kind of upset because he's not human, guys. Like he doesn't have the feelings that we have. There is no, I feel sorry for her. And so he grabs his sand, he's walking away. And, you know, Constantine is like, what are you, like, you're heartless. You know, don't you see she's in pain, she's hurting, do something. And he tells her, there's nothing I can do. You should not have left the sand with her. That's why humans should not have my objects, basically, you know? And so what ends up happening is Dream, you know, he feels something because he goes back and he puts Rachel into a dream state. And in her dream state, she's with Constantine. They're together. They're having a picnic. And she just dies. So she dies having a good dream. And that's where we left off. You know, Constantine and Dream, they leave out. They talk to each other. And another thing I want to mention also is that Dream's known Constantine's family for over 200 years. He's mentioned that. He knows of the whole family lineage, the Constantine. So, you know, he does know of them. They're not strangers. She just didn't know of him. She's just heard of him as being a myth. So he has his sand now, guys. And let's see, now we're out to find our ruby and our helm. So, what did you think about this episode?
I loved it. And can I just mention some of the other thing I liked?
Absolutely.
You see a transition with Morpheus to the point where he doesn't show any emotion because he doesn't have the same emotions as we do.
Right.
But you see him slowly changing, even though he doesn't think that he's changing.
Right.
But his character is actually evolving and he's having a character arc. And that's something I really like. It's not one-dimensional with him either, to the point where he doesn't even realize he's changing, but he is, because the old Morpheus would have just left her there to die and bring the Sam back to his dream world. But no, he listens to Rachel. He listens to Constantine. Right. He does it, and it just moved me. But yeah, this episode as a whole is just beautifully well written, perfectly well crafted. The acting is fantastic. The chemistry between the Raven and him is fantastic. Him and Michael, the Constantine stuff works. Everything about this episode works, and
It was,
it
yes.
just is really great.
I have to say that this is one of my favorite episodes I've seen so far, and I do feel like this series has been slept on. You know, a lot of people are sleeping on this series, and it's really good. I do want to update you guys really quick on some things that I want to correct. Okay, and thank you to Zoe at Backlook Cinema Podcast for explaining things to me. So in the last episode, remember we met the sisters. Okay, so um, Zoe wanted to mention that the sisters, the sisters of fate, he believes are all just one person, not three individuals. Okay, so even though we've seen three, there's one sister. Also, he also believes that so they're three in one, and he also wanted to say that one is the young maiden, the middle-aged mother, and the old crone. So even though they're mentioned as three or four, it's we believe it's just one sister, right? Did you get that as well?
No, to be
When you
honest with
saw
you, I
the sisters,
didn't.
I didn't either. Let's see. Another thing is I had mentioned that Corinthian was Dream's brother because that's how it came across to me. No, actually, Corinthian is a nightmare that Dream rescued. So Corinthian was originally a nightmare. Okay, he was not a, he was Dream's creation, kind of like how the gargoyle was his creation. Corinthian is his creation. So we want to make sure we get that right because we saw what he's able to do with his other creation, the gargoyle, because he needed to give something to the three sisters. Okay, so Corinthian is a creation of Dreams. Okay, and let's see another thing that Zoe wanted to mention. Let's see, I want to make sure that I corrected all that. Um, yeah, and Dream doesn't want his nightmares running amok on Earth. Okay, so that's why he's after Corinthian to go and get him and bring him back to the dream world because Corinthian has gotten a little bit crazy on Earth. Okay, so I wanted to correct that, and Zoe will be here, like I said, on June 14th at 6 p.m. to discuss this as well. So that's it, guys. Next episode is episode 4. That's going to be on June 14th. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. Go back, grind it out. It's really good. And I can tell you, I've watched up to episode 6 and it gets better. I haven't seen, I haven't grinded out the whole series, but up until episode 6, it's amazing. And John Burgess, who has the ruby, wait to see what he does in upcoming episodes. It's crazy and it gets better. And I hear that we have another season coming. So John, what do you have coming up this week?
Okay, so basically, I had to push back one of my reviews, and that was for The Great Outdoors. And so Beth and I decided to do that on the 14th, and that, of course, will be at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. On the 15th, I have the Black Power Rangers. They're actually some comedians, and we're going to be doing the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 1995 movie. And then after that, on the 17th, I had the Flash spoiler review that I'm going to be doing with Anthony from over at ACS Universe. So him and I are going to be tackling that. And a little bit later on, we're going to do the Sandlot review.
Oh, so I love that movie. I love that.
Me too. So yeah, that's pretty much everything as far as my schedule goes for right now.
Okay, guys. So I had a couple of shows that I was supposed to do on the 31st, May 31st. Jay Staccavel was coming back and we were going to review Richard Pryor's Which Way Is Up. Those are being pushed out into July, okay? So Jay Staccavel will be joining me in July. We are definitely going to talk about Richard Pryor's Which Way Is Up. It's a funny movie. It's one of Richard Pryor's funniest films I've seen. And you find out why everyone had, the clumps, why Eddie Murphy came out with that. Richard Pryor is our original imitator or whatever you want to call it, but the movie's really good. So Jay will come and join me for that review. Also on the 14th, also on June 14th at 7, I will be on Frito's show. Frito sits with me on my gaming shows that we do here once a month. Frito and Trust and I and Don Tucker, we're all going to discuss the Call of Duty franchise. That's going to be recorded. As soon as that drops, I will share. And then on the 21st of June, I will be going on Dawn Tucker's show. I'll be going on there for an interview. So I believe that's going to be recorded. I'm not sure, but as soon as I get that, that will be out as well. And at the end of, let's see, July or June, I have a young lady that's going to be coming on, an actress. So we have a lot of things. We're getting our calendars together. I just did a big move, so that's why we had to lay off some episodes. But joining me in about a half hour tonight, we are going to be joined by Big V of the Nappy Roots. This is a multi-platinum, Grammy-nominated group from the early 2000s. Fantastic music. I don't know who hasn't heard of the Nappy Roots, but if you haven't, go on YouTube, check out his videos. Plus, he's a solo artist now, and he has new music that's out, and it's just, he's an amazing talent as well. So he will be joining us in about a half hour. So I hope that you guys will stay and listen to this episode. And that's about it, guys. I appreciate you, and be good to each other. And I will see you definitely next week. Also, Brooke Parrish will be joining me again. She has another documentary for us, and we'll be doing that in another 2 weeks. All right. And that's it. John, anything else? Are we good?
No, that's pretty much it over here. So go on ahead, stay tuned to Rossie's interview. I'm very excited to have Big V joining Rossie, and congratulations on the big interview. And
thank you. Thank you.
So you're very welcome. So,
and hello, JoJo. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you join us for Big V's interview as well. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, go on ahead, kill it. I know you will. But yeah, I'm excited to have Big V part of Movie Loversunite and Rossie Talks. So
absolutely. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll see you next time.